You see them everywhere, right? Climbing up the sides of skyscrapers, lining city streets, scaffolding. At first glance, it looks kind of like a giant metal jungle gym. But behind that simple structure is a really complex world of rules, checks, and balances, all designed to do one thing: keep people safe.
And that's a question with some seriously high stakes. The answer isn't just, a bunch of metal poles. No way. It's an incredibly meticulous system. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how that system works. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the risks, then introduce the official rulebook that everyone has to follow. We'll look at the different kinds of scaffolds, see how their parts get certified, walk through the entire on-site process, and finally, we'll connect all the dots to see why this system is so important. Let's be real. Working at height is one of the most dangerous parts of any construction job. I mean, when you're hundreds of feet up in the air, there is absolutely zero room for error. Every single joint, every platform, it all has to be perfect. And that level of risk is exactly why a super rigorous safety system is totally non-negotiable.
So how do you make sure you get that perfection every single time? Well, you write a rule book. For the construction industry in Malaysia, that rule book is the Construction Industry Standard, or CIS 22-2021. This document is basically the blueprint for scaffolding safety.
It's published by the Construction Industry Development Board, that's CIDB for short, and this standard is the definitive guide. And let me be clear, this is not just a suggestion. It's a mandatory requirement.
Okay, so what is it really? Well, CIS 22-2021 is this huge, comprehensive standard that covers everything you can think of, from the types of metal being used to the quality checks that have to happen on-site. The whole goal is to make sure every single person involved, manufacturers, suppliers, contractors, is speaking the exact same language of safety.
Now, the standard zeroes in on three main types of metal scaffolding systems. So let's break down what these building blocks of safety actually are. First up is the prefabricated frame scaffold. It's built from these rigid, pre-made frames that just connect together. Since the shape is already set, it's really fast to assemble and incredibly strong. Honestly, the best way to picture it is like building with giant, sturdy Lego blocks. Next, we have the tubular scaffold. This is the classic system you probably think of, using individual steel or aluminum tubes that are connected by special clamps called couplers. Its real strength is its flexibility. You can build it into almost any shape you need, which is perfect for complicated buildings. And finally, there's the modular scaffold. This is a more modern system that kind of combines the speed of frame scaffolds with the flexibility of tubular ones. The vertical posts have these built-in connection points, they're called rosettes, at fixed intervals, which lets other parts lock in really quickly and precisely. Okay, so we've got these three main systems. But how can anyone be sure that a single tube, or just one coupler from any of these is actually safe? How do we trust the metal?
The answer is a mandatory certification called the Parakuan Pematuhan Standard, or PPS. Think of it like an official seal of approval from CIDB. Before any scaffolding product can be used on a construction site, it has to have a PPS. That's the proof that it's been properly tested and that it meets all the standards.
And to make this super easy to verify, every single component has to be clearly marked. You should be able to look at any tube or frame and instantly see who made it, when it was made, which standard it follows, and its official PPS number. And there's no wiggle room here. If a part doesn't have these markings, it cannot be used. Period.
All right, so let's dive into how all these certified parts and expert people come together in a really rigorous process on the actual construction site. It's a whole life cycle, from the moment the materials show up to the day they're finally taken down. So first, every component is inspected right when it's delivered for those mandatory markings and any signs of damage. Any used materials go through even more rigorous quality checks. The scaffold can only be put up by certified competent scaffolders and always under supervision. Once it's built, it has to be inspected every 7 days and after any event like a big storm that could affect it. And get this, even taking it apart is a carefully supervised process.
Now, who's in charge of all this? Well, the level of expertise needed actually depends on the height and complexity of the scaffold. For lower structures, a competent scaffolder can manage the design and supervision. But for the really tall stuff, we're talking over 40 meters for tubular or 15 meters for the other types, you have to bring in a professional engineer for temporary works. They handle the full structural design, the analysis, the whole shebang. And to communicate the safety status to every single worker on site, they use this brilliantly simple system.
A green tag means the scaffold has been inspected and it is safe to use. A red tag, on the other hand, is an unmistakable warning. Danger, do not use. It means the scaffold is either incomplete or unsafe. So, let's step back and connect all the dots. We've seen the rules, the materials, the people, and the processes. The key here is understanding how all these different pieces lock together to create this comprehensive web of safety.
It really comes down to this. Safety isn't something that's left to chance. It is not an accident. It's a deliberate system. You have certified parts you can trust, you have expert people with the right training, and you have a rigorous process of checks and supervision from beginning to end. When all of those things work together, that's how people are kept safe.
So the next time you walk past a construction site and see that metal lattice climbing up into the sky, you'll know about the hidden system of rules and responsibilities that's holding it all together. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now that you know the hidden rules, will you ever look at a construction site the same way again?